Okay, so now we're going to start an introduction to transformations. This is the second portion of the geometry unit. So in general, a transformation is the movement of an object in the coordinate plane. Okay, so what we're going to be looking at is, just on the XY axes. Okay, so on the coordinate plane. Okay, the object could be a point. It could be a line. It could be a figure of some sort. There's a lot of options there. Okay, so now the first type we're going to be looking at, we're only going to look at one today. So, is called a translation. Okay, this specifically is going to be a move, or often it's called a slide of an object over a fixed distance. And this can mean left or right, as well as up and down. I should say and or, up and down. Sorry, up or down. There we go. So one thing to know in any transformation, I'll go back to kind of the green for that. In any transformation, the pre-image, and sometimes this is called a source, and this is just the original object. So it's before the transformation. In this case, a translation. Okay, but it's always called the pre-image. Okay, and then the image will be the new object after the transformation, which just really means a move. Okay, in this case, we're going to be looking at after the translation. Okay, the notation here, so often the pre-image would be like noted by a letter. Like the object is just called a P or an A, and then the notation here, or maybe the point is called P or A, P prime or A prime. And you'll see what I mean when I do a couple of translations. And this is red, P prime. Okay. So that's kind of the vocabulary. And now I'm going to put kind of a grid paper down to show you one. And then I'll kind of show you the first example. Okay. So here we'll put this down. All right, so if we have a triangle, and I'm just going to place the triangle at kind of an arbitrary spot, but one you can also see. So the first point will be negative 3, 3. So negative 3, 3 right here. Second point will be negative 1, 5. Negative 1 down to up to positive 5, excuse me. There's B. So this is A, and then B. And then the third point will be 3, 1. 3, 1. So this is kind of that triangle. All right, and I'm going to use a straight edge, but not a ruler, since I forgot to grab one. So here's kind of your 3 points and your triangle. Okay, so now the actual example is we're going to move triangle ABC to the right 5 and down 2. Now, there are some other notation options here, which I'm going to note here. So instead of saying to the right 5, I can say, so here's another way I could have written it. I could have said XY, and then because moving to the right on grid would be adding, and moving to the left would be in the subtraction direction, I would say, in this case, I was moving to the right 5, so I would say X plus 5. And down 2, because that's subtracting or negative or in the negative direction, and up is in the positive direction, I would, since it was down 2, I would write Y minus 2 like that. Okay, I have also seen it, and I'll mention this, although I don't see it very often like this. You just kind of write 5, negative 2, with kind of those like arrow-like things, like a parentheses, but brackets that are, I don't normally see it that way, but I wanted to mention it. So normally I would either use this notation or this notation. It's much more common. So if I'm going to do that, so now I'm going to do that in a different color so you can see it. So these are the 2 I think I prefer, but I'm going to move it to the right 5 and down 2. So I'm just going to take literally each point and move it to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and down 1, 2. So here's my new point. Okay. Now I normally would not write that. I was just not really thinking. So I'm going to move this over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and down 1, 2. So here's my next point here, and then this one as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and down 1, 2. Okay, now you could actually, and so here's my new image, just real quickly, I'm going to draw it, and I've translated that image to the right 5 and down 2. Now it should look approximately the same. Luckily, for the most part, you will not have to really practice graphing a lot of this, although if you choose to, you can. So it should look about the same. Mine's not perfect. But the other thing you can do is you can actually take the original coordinate, so A prime, if I just kind of look at this negative 3, I'm going to move that up 5. So I'm going to add 5 to that negative 3. So if I were to add 5 to this, I would have a positive 2, which is exactly where it is. And here's A prime. Okay, and I would subtract 2 from this one here, 3 minus 2. So this would be a 1. Okay, and you'll see that my point is at 2, 1. Okay, so my B prime, if I add 5 to the 1, I should be at 4 in the X. Remember, this is an X, Y coordinate. And then if I subtract 2 from the 5, I should be at 3. And you'll notice B prime, if we ignore that spot that I was just moving over, is at 4, 3. Okay. Ignore that spot completely. And then the last point was C prime. And I'm going to move up 5, so I should be at 8. And I was at 1. I'm going to move down 2. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. So here is C prime. Okay? So that's a translation to the right 5 and down 2, or X plus 5 and Y minus 2. I'm going to do another couple of examples. And they're all going to be translations. So here's another sheet here. Probably want to do it in the correct direction there. All right, so my second example, I'm going to translate, and I'm going to again do another triangle. I'm going to do it XYZ, triangle XYZ, and this time I'm going to write the translation as XY to X minus 7, oops, excuse me, X minus 7, and Y plus 3. There we go. writing a 7 rather than a y would be helpful. All right, so my original A is going to be 6, negative 3. B is going to be 5, negative 6. Sorry, the cat just tried to, if you could hear that, cat just tried to join us. C is going to be 2, 2. Okay, so at 6, negative 3, here's my original. 5, so that's my original. Whoops, sorry, just kidding, it was X, Y, Z. I decided to change the letters. Okay, X, Y, and Z, so here's X. At 6, negative 3, here's Y. At 5, negative 6, so way down here. And here's Z at 2, 2. Okay, and again, I'm just going to draw my figure with straight edge or ruler. Oops. Didn't do the best drawing of that original one. All right, so there's my original figure, X, Y, Z. And now, this time I'm going to, rather than moving it over first, I'm going to find my new coordinates first. Either way is fine. So I have my X prime and my Y prime and my Z prime. And in this case, I know I'm going to subtract 7 from the X and I'm going to add 3 to the Y. So if I'm going to subtract 7, my X prime should be at 6 minus 7, which is negative 1. And negative 3 plus 3, which is 0. And then 5 minus 7, which is negative 2. Negative 6 plus 3, which is negative 3. And then my Z prime, 2 minus 7, which is negative 5. And 2 plus 3, which is 5. Now, let's check if these coordinates are correct by doing it kind of the other way, thinking of this as left 7 and up 3. Okay, so if I go left 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and up 1, 2, 3. So am I at negative 5, 5 for Z prime? Looks like I am. So there's my Z prime. Okay, Y, I'm going to move over again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and up 1, 2, 3. So there's Y prime, and let's make sure it's at negative 2, negative 3. We're good. And then X prime, I'm going to move over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and up 1, 2, 3. And negative 1, 0. So I am good. That's all labeled, and so I draw my translation. So that is the image under that translation. Okay. So now if you understand this, of course, you can move along anytime you want to practice this in IXL and practice writing translations. I'm going to do one more example for those of you who feel like you need one more example and maybe something that isn't a triangle. Okay, so in this case, I'm actually going to start with something that I'm going to give you the 2 images, and then I'm going to ask you what the translation actually is. So in this one here, I'm going to give you the pre-image and the image. So the pre-image, okay, the pre-image is going to be in orange. Okay, so we have A, which is going to be 3, 1, B, which is going to be 5, 3, C, which is going to be 6, comma, negative 1, and then D, which is going to be 8, 1. Okay, so my A is 3, 1, so A is right here. And then B is 5, 3. C is 6, negative 1. So B, C, and then D is 8, 1. Okay, so you'll see it's kind of, I'm going to do my best. I probably shouldn't. We'll just go ahead and use a straight edge again on some of these. There we go. And there we go. All right, so here is the pre-image. And then the image, is going to be okay, so A prime will be at 6, 4. B prime will be at 8, 6. C prime will be at 9, 2. And D prime is at 11, 4. All right, so now if I move from 6 up to 4, here's A prime. And 8 up to 6. Here's B prime. Oh, there's the cat. Here's C prime at 9, 2. Thank you. And D prime, we'll pretend we can get all the way to 11, 11, 4. So there's D prime. Okay? And so here's that image. Oops. Not the best drawn in the world. But we'll pretend. So, yeah, that should look a little bit more like it's actually the image of the thing. If I drew a better line, it would be. There we go. Okay, just pretend it's an image. It is actually an image. It's just not the best drawn one. All right, so what happened here? So from the pre-image, which is my XY, we'll notice that we moved up 3. So we could write that as X plus 3. And we moved up also. We moved right 3, excuse me, and then we also moved up. It looks like 3 as well. So Y plus 3. Okay, or you could write it differently. If you didn't want to write with the coordinate notation, you could write to the right 3 and up 3. That works as well. Okay, so that's a way to write it. Or the third way, if you wanted to do that 3 notation, that would be fine as well. All right, so hopefully you understand translations and you have some time to practice some of these on IXL. Have a wonderful day.